Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to have you joining with us again today for the daily devotionals. We do encourage you, if possible, to share them with your friends. Maybe you're like me and you don't have very many friends. That's okay, but if you do, you can share these devotionals with your friends and with your loved ones. You know, the trials of life often serve to strengthen our faith in Jesus Christ. The psalmist David, in the midst of all of his trial and adversity, could say, "What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee." He said that in Psalm 56 and verse number 3. "What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee." You know, in my limited experience as a Christian, I have had the privilege of meeting many godly saints, some who are now with the Saviour in glory. And one old lady that I didn't know all that well, but I did know her a little bit. Her name was Mrs. Brown. Now, my mother grew up in a situation and in a church where she maybe didn't hear all that much of the gospel. But this old lady, Mrs. Brown, lived in the locality. And she opened up her home to young children like my mother at that time. She taught them how to play the piano. She gave them Christian literature to read. She had a Bible club in her home, and as she taught them how to play hymns and songs and Christian tunes on the piano, she would explain the words to them and share the gospel with many young people in that locality. And thankfully, under God, there were those who came to the Saviour and came to saving faith through the witness of that saintly old woman. I lived for 2 years in Australia, pastoring a little church in Port Lincoln. At that time I wasn't married, I lived on my own. And that lady, Mrs. Brown, she used to write to me on occasion, just sending short letters saying, "I'm praying for you, I'm remembering you." Maybe she put a £5 or a £10 note in the letter, and those were special times. She had a bad shake in her hand, but her handwriting was so neat, and you could see just the little squiggly letters, but so neat as well. One day I was talking to my mum on the phone, and she says, "You'll never guess what happened to Mrs. Brown." Said she was in her home in the kitchen, and she came down to get something from her bedroom. Now, this lady lived on her own, and whenever she came down to her bedroom, she noticed that the door was open. And whenever she went into her bedroom, there were 2 burglars in her home. They had pulled out the drawers, they were going through her belongings, big, strong men. And Mrs. Brown at this stage was a lady, I suppose, well into her 80s, maybe even her early 90s. She was old and she was frail. And my mum said to her, "Well, what did you do when you saw the burglars?" She said, "Well, I just pointed to him and I says, 'I'm a Christian and God will get you for this.'" Mum says, "Well, what happened next?" She says, "That man dropped everything along with his friend and they ran out of the house, and I've never seen them again since." Mum said to her, "Well, weren't you really afraid?" She says, "I was. But you know something, now I thank God for it, because it has really strengthened my faith." Isn't that an amazing thing, to be able to thank God for sending 2 burglars to your home so that it might strengthen your faith? "What time I am afraid, I will trust in thee." Maybe today you're afraid, you've got worries. Bring them to the Lord in prayer. Trust in the Saviour, and the Lord will strengthen your faith. God bless you. Hopefully see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.